Hi there, welcome to our online session to talk about an introduction to environmental reporting. This session has three core aims: to explore the unique role culture can play in overcoming environmental issues, identify how you can get started on taking action, and learn how to begin measuring your carbon footprint. In this session, we will cover introductions, a brief summary of climate change, understanding the impact and power of arts and culture, taking action and where to start, measuring your carbon footprint, and finally, some handy top tips and next steps that you can start taking today. My name is Grace, and I'm the environmental coordinator here at Julie's Bicycle. Julie's Bicycle is a not-for-profit that unites culture, creativity, and climate action to drive change. Our team combines cultural and environmental sector experience and knowledge to build expertise in the creative climate movement. We work in strategic partnerships that deliver skills training, leadership development, and cultural and climate policy and advocacy. Founded nearly 20 years ago, JB has partnered and supported over 2,000 organisations, networks, and artists. This work generates insights and ideas relevant to both climate and cultural policies, and is a platform to celebrate the leadership and amplify the voice of culture in shaping the solutions we need now and for our futures. This session is on behalf of Out There Arts. Based in Great Yarmouth but collaborating internationally, Out There Arts, National Centre for Outdoor Arts and Circus, is an independent arts charity and Arts Council England funded national portfolio organisation. They are recognised for their sector leading achievements as major international collaborators. In 2025, they launched the Open Air Project, which focuses on the international exchange of world-class participatory and inclusive outdoor arts, helping facilitate touring opportunities and a professional network for artists and promoters. The programme will also support the promotion, distribution, and growth of outdoor arts across borders. Heading into our first section for this session, a Climate 101. A good starting place for us is to spend a moment to reflect on what you may know already or like to learn from today's session. So I appreciate we are unable to interact as this is a recorded session, but take a moment to think about what comes to mind when you think of the term sustainability. There may be a range of ideas which come to mind here, perhaps feelings towards nature, practical steps that you may be doing in both your personal life, such as recycling, or within your organisation on reducing your environmental impacts, or perhaps even feelings of care, concern, and curiosity might come to mind here. Moving now on to reflecting on how sure are you on where to start taking environmental action as an organisation. This brings us slightly more into focus of what you may already be doing in your organisation around sustainability. Maybe you're well underway on your net zero journey, or perhaps you are in the process of creating really great building blocks on how to take action moving forwards. And finally, how confident do you feel in reporting your environmental data? No matter your response, hopefully today's session will bring you some handy tips, guidance, and support for you wherever you may be on your journey. So before we jump into the real detail of today, it's really important that we spend a brief moment reflecting on why we're here and what we really want you to take away from the session. You can see here progress over perfection, and that's truly what we believe is the main purpose of sessions like these and when starting your sustainability journey. Progress is important and it allows us to start making environmental changes to help reduce our collective environmental impact. If it is indeed the early days of your environmental journey, that is no problem at all, as we see that this is a great opportunity for progression. Perfection, although great, isn't the main focus of why we're here today. So we thought this was a really great way to help frame the rest of this session. Now, these are something you might recognise. These are known as the climate stripes. The climate stripes were created by a professor at the University of Reading in 2018 to show a series of coloured vertical bars highlighting the progressive heating of our planet, clearly showing how global average temperatures have risen over the last 2 centuries. Each stripe represents the average temperature for a single year relative to the average temperature over the period from 1961 to 2010. Shades of blue indicate cooler than average years, while the red show the years that were hotter than average. You can see on the very right-hand side, the stark band of deep red stripes show the rapid heating of our planet in recent decades. It's important for us to talk a little bit about the main greenhouse gases that are driving climate change. We have carbon dioxide and methane. Carbon dioxide accounts for around 75% of emissions, whilst concentrations rising mostly due to the burning of fossil fuels that people have been burning for energy since the start of the Industrial Revolution. These fossil fuels include coal and oil, and since the middle of the 20th century, annual emissions of carbon dioxide from burning fossil fuels have increased every single decade. By adding more carbon dioxide to the atmosphere, people are amplifying the natural greenhouse effect, causing global temperatures to rise. And we also have methane, which is a really powerful greenhouse gas and is largely caused by human sources. And more than 90% of global human methane emissions come from agriculture, fossil fuels, and waste. So, where are we today? You will all know that the main aim of the Paris Agreement is keeping temperatures to well below 2 degrees and as close as possible to 1.5 degrees warming to avoid critical tipping points in the climate system. 2024 was the first calendar year that the average global temperature exceeded 1.5 degrees above its pre-industrial level. And in the past 10 years, so that's 2015 to 2024, have been the warmest on record. And we are very close to breaching the 1.5 degree limit, and action is urgent. Globally, we are already experiencing changing rainfall patterns, rising sea levels, and increasing weather extremes. The effects of a warming world are here and are being felt in every part of the globe. We all have lived experiences of this, and we can see and feel the change happening around us as the planet warms. Your cultural organisation may have experienced the effects of overheating buildings in the summer, disruptions to programming, and felt the impacts of rising energy bills. But some places are also experiencing flooding, supply chain and travel disruptions, storm damage, and you may be noticing the effects on the green spaces in nature. You may have experienced some of these impacts yourselves within your organisations or indeed in your personal life too. The term net zero is everywhere at the moment, but what does it really mean? Net zero simply means reducing your emissions as much as possible and balancing out remaining emissions through removals. The really big emphasis on this is mitigating climate entering the atmosphere rather than attempting to remove it from the atmosphere. And this brings us really nicely to understanding the impact and power of arts and culture. Much of culture's effort today in climate action have been to focus on reducing emissions, and whilst this is vital work, we can no longer avoid climate impacts. While there are lots of different definitions and framings, adapting to climate change is about the changes that we need to start making now to be able to survive and thrive in the future. Overall, mitigation refers to actions to reduce or prevent emissions, and that really is sums up by slowing climate change down, shifting how we make, how we travel, how we source our materials, and what we create, and how that we can enhance and restore ecosystems that play a vital role in storing carbon too. Adaptation, on the other hand, is about taking action to respond to the changes we are already seeing, preparing for what's coming in the future. It can sometimes feel less defined because the future is uncertain, and until we reach net zero emissions globally, the amount of change that we need to adapt to is also uncertain. Adaptation is not one thing, it involves changes in our infrastructure, how and where we live, how we grow our food, and how we live together with nature. And adaptation is ultimately a pathway towards resilience. Resilience is a broader, more complex concept and means different things in different contexts. But for this, it takes a systems-wide perspective and involves a range of solutions to build capacities to anticipate, respond, adapt, and recover from climate impacts, and to transform systems as needed. It's much more about taking a holistic and multidimensional approach. We need to mitigate, adapt, and build resilience to thrive in the changing climate. Whilst these are distinct, they are deeply connected and complement to one another. So, what role can culture play in climate adaptation? Culture helps to imagine what is possible. Policies and systems are essential, but the future cannot be imagined without creativity. Adaptation is not only about managing changes, it's about imagining and shaping the worlds we want to live in. Culture and creativity can inspire new ways of living and working in our changing climate. Ultimately, we need to do things differently. We need changes in how we live, grow our food, build our cities, reconnect with nature, and to relate to one another and function collectively as a society. We need shifts in our values towards care, community, collaboration, alongside practical solutions. These are real cultural values. And I appreciate you may be wondering, but what does it have to do with culture and the arts when there are other high polluting sectors in the picture too? Despite this being true, it is important to remember that they are all deeply connected to one another. The key point is that everyone, from the biggest polluters right down to our own sector, must do what we can to build a more sustainable future. It is not the responsibility of any one sector or country. Culture is the ground from which changes we need are made possible. You all know the power of culture in bringing people together, in empowering, in celebrating tradition, in making new ones together through joy, expression, creation, and imagination. Policy follows through imagination, and so culture has a huge part to play in both empowering communities to become more resilient practically and emotionally, as well as being a fertile ground for exploring what is real now, what might be real in the future, and what else is possible. The key things communities need are knowledge, opportunities to share their skills, opportunities to develop skills for adaptation, and opportunities to imagine through culture what creative solutions might feed into recreating the future we might face. Keeping memories alive and writing memories of tomorrow. So, in practice, this could be hosting workshops that spark awareness and dialogue, empowering marginalised groups as co creators for their future, shape new leadership structures that open decision making to more voices, envisioning futures with communities through art, and working on the land to share skills and build resilience together. That might feel overwhelming, and we completely understand that. So, we like to look at three layers of what we can do. The first being in the dark green circle, what can you control? On a practical level, this could look like reducing your emissions from your energy, your transport, your materials, your waste, and taking more care of nature and adapting and building resilience. Then, in the middle circle, we have what can you influence? Raising awareness, inspiring and influencing action and behaviour change through programming and collections. And then finally, on the outer circle, what needs to change through collaboration or wider advocacy? This may be advocating and collaborating for wider change and a regenerative and just transition. Now, let us move into how we can take action and where to begin. Now, the question of why take action if I haven't been able to convince you just yet, here are some great ways in which you can begin to demonstrate your action in a meaningful way. You have opportunities to engage with your audiences. You have the ability to share your sustainability story with audiences and inspire them to take action too. What a powerful way to engage with them, and not only what you may be doing internally, but to inspire them to take action of their own. You have the opportunity to also build deeper connections within the industry by working with peers on sharing sustainability challenges, growing relationships with your supply chain, and using your platform to highlight what is in the art of the possible. We also then have inspiring and inspiration for new creative ideas, exploring options of lower carbon programming and products you may be providing. This is one that a lot of people like to see, reducing costs. Cutting carbon will help you save your costs ultimately, from exploring renewable energy tariffs to adopting best practices in workspaces like turning off lights and seeing energy costs drop, to also reducing your waste. Staff wellbeing is a big one as well, and we often see that employees want to work for employers that take sustainability seriously, and it helps to create a positive work environment demonstrating care for our planet. And finally, positive press. With creating positive environmental impacts come stories too. You have then the opportunity to share these with your networks, and who doesn't love a feel-good story? We appreciate that every organisation's sustainability journey is unique, and the path to being sustainable is one that is not linear but dynamic. It can be helpful to think of different stages of your journey to help support what actions you can take in the short, mid, and long term. A good way to break this down is by looking at the short term. So, immediate actions that will help you to make positive change. This could be things like implementing a waste policy, encouraging good habits to save energy by turning off electricals when they are not in use, and engaging your internal teams, collecting your environmental data, and measuring your carbon footprint. On the midterm, things you can start planning for with teams and budget to help reach targets. So this may be identifying ways to reduce your carbon footprint on an annual basis, working collaboratively to apply for funding on decarbonisation projects, and developing and working towards carbon targets. And then we have the longer term. What may need industry and government support to unlock? So this may be things such as additional government funding to further help decarbonisation strategies and implementation. Something that I think is right at the very top of our list of things where you can start taking action is by engaging your teams and your people who you work with. We have on the screen now a couple of ideas or thoughts that might get you thinking on how to engage your teams internally. These include setting up an internal green team, identifying areas you think you can integrate sustainable thinking into. So that may be in meetings and existing processes that you may have. And then finally, working collaboratively across your organisation to really hear those ideas and ways of improving our environmental impacts as a team. People are truly at the core of sustainability, and it is really important that your team join you on your journey. So it's a really great way to get started. We often say in the sustainability industry that you can't manage what you don't measure, and that measuring your environmental impacts is such a great start for any sustainability journey, no matter how big or small your organization may be. So, here are some things to bear in mind of what you can get started with if not already. So, start or continue to measure annual carbon impacts, which we will come onto shortly. Track your progress and identify hotspots for emissions, and begin working on reducing your carbon through data-driven decision making. So, we have spoken about climate change and why it is important for culture and arts and taking action. So, for the remainder of this session, we'll be focusing on your carbon footprint and measuring your impacts. So, what is a carbon footprint? A carbon footprint is simply the amount of greenhouse gas emissions released by an individual or organisation over a set period of time and is expressed as a single number with the unit CO2e, which equates to carbon dioxide equivalents. There are three core elements to carbon reporting, which are often defined as scopes. So we have scope 1, which is emissions you are directly responsible for. So that may be things like your gas boilers, your company-owned vehicles and generators you may own. Scope 2, which is emissions from energy you buy, so your electricity. And then scope 3, which is emissions from everything else. So this may be your business travel, your product manufacturing, your distribution, and your waste. Now, we do have a slight guidance here on videos that you can take a look at after this session today. And launched in 2009, the Creative Climate Tools, formerly known as the Creative Green Tools, are globally recognised as the first and leading online environmental reporting tool designed specifically for the arts and cultural sector. These tools are designed to support your environmental reporting and long-term sustainability planning. They simply and simplify the process of measuring, tracking, and communicating your environmental impacts, making it easier to take informed climate action. They allow you to know your impact through understanding your carbon footprint and identifying areas of improvement, track your progress through monitoring your reductions and improvements over time, benchmark and grow, and compare your data to identify opportunities for growth. Simplify and save time by streamlining the reporting process and saving time and effort, and empowering your organisation with strategic insights. Here on the screen, you can see we have a number of supporting bite-sized videos for how to use the CC tools, and links for these can be found on our website and will be shared in follow-up to this recording. They include things like how to get started, how to create an account, how to report your energy and your home working and your travel data, and a really great place to start if you're new to the CC tools or want a refresher for reporting your environmental impacts soon. And as we head into our final section for today's session, some top tips and next steps. Here are some top tips to consider when reporting your impacts. You want to map your data and understand where the data is held, who is responsible, and what processes you can use to integrate your data collection to make things simpler for your organisation. Start looking at utility data. So begin reporting your energy, water, and waste data. For your business travel, explore how you collect this information and start recording your business travel data. And this is a good one as it's generally held within financial teams or teams who may be responsible for measuring your impacts on the business travel front. And also it tends to be one of the highest emitting areas of an environmental footprint. So it's a good one to start recording. And a top tip for all of this is, where possible, try to aim to record primary data, as this is the highest quality data and will give you the best guidance on what your environmental footprint is. And remember, keep progress over perfection as a focus point throughout all of this journey. Now, I know we have focused today's session on Julie's Bicycle CC tools and acknowledge that there are a number of carbon calculators available to use. Here are some things you want to look for when exploring how best to report your environmental data. Firstly, what are you wanting to report? Are you looking to report carbon data and qualitative data too, such as other efforts your organisation may be taking? Can you report activity-based data on the calculator you're looking at? We recommend reporting wherever possible activity-based data, also known as primary data. And this includes things like the fuel used, the kilometres travelled, or how many kilowatt hours you may have used for your electricity bill. Try wherever possible to report this data over spend-based data. And finally, as a good rule of thumb, can you find the supporting methodology for the calculator you are looking at? It's important as this will help with transparency on how your data will be calculated, provide guidance on how your results were calculated, which can be useful for learning purposes, and give you the confidence in the numbers you will be reporting externally and to partners. And finally, just as we head into wrapping us up, some final key principles to take forward on your sustainability journey. One, embrace imperfection. When starting out on your sustainability journey, embrace that some things will take time, and that is completely okay. Although it would be brilliant to have the most perfect data set on your first round of reporting, it's also completely okay for that not to be the case. Building your data takes time, and don't let that stop you in taking action now. There may be things you know would likely be a good step in the right direction, and this may be things like making sure nothing is left on standby overnight, introducing some posters on advertising how to separate rubbish by the bins, and using public transport wherever you can. Coming on to small can still be mighty. Speaking to the above point, doing something is better than nothing. And we have in our resources a guide on how to take your data and how to improve it each year, taking one step at a time. So we definitely recommend taking a look at that, which can be found on the resources hub on the CC Tools. We would recommend not to try and measure everything at once and focusing on the more important areas. Take it one step at a time, and over the years, you will then have a really robust way of reporting your impacts. Thirdly, use your influence, engage your teams, talk to your suppliers, and inspire change. This is a really great opportunity to build on existing connections and bring everyone on your journey too. And remember, people really are at the core of any sustainability journey. So please make sure you use this and bring your teams on board too. And finally, collaboration is key. Sustainability cannot be tackled by one person alone, and get teams involved and work together to help take action. Across the process of reporting your carbon footprint, it is likely we need to speak to people across your teams and suppliers to get data. This will help you understand what data you may have already, what data you can work on collecting moving forwards, and answer any questions that anyone has on the way. Linked here are some helpful resources, and we will share the slides with you for the links in follow-up. So we've got things like how to log on and create an account for the CC Tools, some guidance on how to create a carbon footprint. We've got the user guides and the videos, as we have already mentioned. And for those of you who may be a national portfolio organisation, additional guidance on reporting for Arts Council England. And any guides on environmental policies, action plans, and communicating your sustainability journey can be also found on our resource hub online. If you do indeed have questions from this session, please feel free to reach out to us at Julie's Bicycle via our email here. And please do sign up to our newsletter and social media channels for any news, new guidance and resources, and to hear of any other webinars and ways to get involved. And finally, thank you for tuning into this session. We hope you found it useful and we look forward to hearing from you soon. Take care. Goodbye.